You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, Episode 5 with Matt Boggs. 7 steps to get what you want from men. Hey, ladies, welcome back to The Dating Den. And this is a very special episode of The Dating Den because I am here with Matt Boggs. You're going to die when I tell you how I got to know Matt Boggs. But for now, I'll just tell you he is the best-selling author of Project Everlasting and co-founder of the Life Mastery Institute. He is honestly like one of the most sought-after dating coaches. He's a relationship expert. He has been on national media like the Today Show and CNN and Oprah and Friends. He has shared the stage with people like John Gray, Allison Armstrong, Ariel Ford, Jack Canfield. And what you're going to really love today about Matt is that, first of all, he's a guy with a profound understanding of women. And it seems as if he understands us so much that we can, for the first time, really hear his inspirational messages. You know, like he's got this vibe of love and empowerment, and it's all like sort of mixed in with a cocktail of like practical application. And so as a result of that, he has really transformed the lives of so many women. And guess what? Including me. Yes. Matt Boggs, welcome to the show. I can't wait to tell the story of how you called me out on my shit full on, like before I was even a coach.
Man, that seems like light years ago, doesn't it?
It was so light years ago, but like what's really crazy is you and I were just talking for a second before the show started about, like all the clients that we coach and all the women that we work with together. And like, I've been on stage where like old Marni showed up and was like, like this is all crap. And I was that person for you. And
no, yeah. For everyone listening, when you're a speaker, you've got like these dream moments when you're thinking you're on stage and everybody's with you and they're loving it. And at the end, they're applauding. They come up to you and say how awesome you are and just how much your information changed their lives. And then there's the moments that you dread as a speaker where you get someone who's basically a heckler in the audience who's like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. No. I don't think so. This is not going to work for me. Why? Why is it going to be this way? And that was totally Marni in a Cracking the Man Code seminar. And she's sitting right in the front. And at the same, when I describe that as the moments that you don't want as a speaker, those are moments when you're a rookie speaker, you don't want those moments. But after you're seasoned, you realize that those are the moments that often lead to the biggest transformation, right?
100%.
Like those are the moments, the people who are like, look, bust. And ultimately what people are saying is bust my paradigm. Bust my paradigm. And so there was Marni in the front row. And I was talking about ultimately letting a man earn the right to sleep with you.
Totally. We were talking about sex right from the get-go.
Yeah. And Marni's like, no. Look, what if I just want to get some? What if I just want to get some action? How come it's got to be me making him earn it and wait than when I just want to get down and dirty? And I said, well, you can. There's nothing saying you can't. You can. And is the result you're getting what you want? Are you happy with the results you're getting now? Knowing that she's in this seminar, probably not happy with the results she's getting, and so I don't think I've really ever fully followed up with you on what you shifted in that. But tell me, so what was your experience in that moment, Marni, and then what did you shift?
Well, so first of all, today we're talking about the 10-minute sweaty conversation formula, and actually, this is perfect because at that time, I was dating this guy. I called him Rockstar because that was his online name. And he was super hot, super sexy. We had a great connection. I really liked him. We like had like 4 dates. And the last date was one of those, like literally we're sitting in the car in front of my house. We were like making out, but it was like respectable makeout. But we were jamming out to like Bon Jovi, like both just like, it's my life. We were just like, and I was like, I could totally be myself with this guy. I think I could like him a lot. And of course, he freaking disappeared. And so I went to Cracking the Man Code to basically get the answer to like, what do I do? And so I got that answer, which we'll talk about it in the 10-minute sweaty conversation formula. But what shifted for me was that I could do whatever I wanted, because I was like divorced for about 5 years. And there was a time in my life where doing whatever I wanted and feeling sexy and having my dignity and sleeping with someone and really being comfortable with not having it go anywhere was part of that journey. But I had moved past that part. And so I was doing the old paradigm, expecting a different result. And you called me out on like, is the result you're getting in alignment with that? And that's when it hit me. And I was like, wait, I think I actually want a relationship now. So I have to really think about what I want and how I am going to show up with these men that I'm actually really interested in. And so that was sort of like the kick in the ass that put me on the pivot to realize that I was done casually dating. I wanted a relationship, and I had to really think about what do I want and who do I want to attract and how do I want to be in relationships. So it was freaking profound, Matt.
Well, and kudos to you, because it takes a level of awareness to be able to say, you know what, this is working or this is not working, and who do I need to be? I just want to highlight something that you said because it comes up so often in how do you shift your results in creating or attracting love. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it is simple to understand. And Einstein says it this way. He says, match the frequency of the reality you want, and it must be yours. And what that means is when you can generate a feeling tone or a state of being that matches how you would actually feel and be when you're in the relationship, then everything around you organizes itself to match that state of being. In other words, everything around you begins to organize itself to match you being in that relationship. And it can happen so fast. The catch is, and it's one of the most difficult and challenging things for us as human beings, is to generate that state of, if you think about, and if we were able to ask the audience, what state of being, what feeling tone would we be in if you're actually in the loving, amazing relationship that you want? And I had a client just go through this process, and here are her 5 words. It's different for everybody, right? Yeah. You get to pick your own 5 words. You listening right now, you could pick what 3 to 5 emotional states would you actually be experiencing if you were in this stable, loving, committed, amazing relationship, or whatever version of relationship you really want. How would you feel? So this woman says, I would feel happy. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel secure and safe. Mm-hmm. I would feel confident. And then the last one she added, which I thought was brilliant, she goes, you know what? I would actually feel grateful. Feel so grateful for this amazing man, And then we said, well, how are you feeling right now as she's going through the dating process? And she was like,
not grateful, not happy,
unworthy, unloved. I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling lonely. And so this is the challenge, because if you generate a state where you're feeling unworthy, unloved, rejected, and lonely, and that's your major dominant vibration, in other words, that's the feeling tone you're in most of the day, then you end up attracting more and more and more of that. And that's the vicious circle. And it can happen even more now during, we're in the holiday season than ever, because we go to these family dinners and we go to these gatherings and everybody's like, so what's your love life like? And then
by the way, we hate that when we're single. We just hate that, and it's meant from love, but I have clients, and you probably do too, that actually avoid or dread the spirit of the holidays because they don't want to be asked that question. So this is like a really relevant topic.
Right. And why don't we like that question? Why is it? What is it? What's like the real sting to that question that we don't like it? What do your clients tell you, Marni?
Well, what they say is, because it makes me feel bad because I feel like there's something wrong with me. The heart of it is like, oh, I'm flawed. I'm doing something wrong. I'm not enough. And because I'm single, I have a freaking neon sign on my head that says like loser.
There you go.
It's like, and for a lot of women, and so maybe some of you listening relate to this, it brings up this whole other side of like, I call it like boxing gloves, where you're like, why the freaking hell do I need to have a man, grandma, to be happy? Like,
grandma.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not going to eat your apple pie, grandma.
Exactly.
Since you asked me that.
Exactly. But it's so like, because when we go, that question brings up shame, right? And like,
Shame.
just, right? And so one of the reactions is, that like boxing gloves that like, I got to fight you. I got to like defend myself. Some of us just shut down and get really quiet and go, yeah, and like just aren't present. So we all have these different reactions to that question.
Yes. And ultimately, if we get to the root of, and I love that we're diving into the deep end right away on this, but I hope for all of you listening, if you've ever experienced that, I hope you take this tool and really use it this year, because it can just absolutely transform your holiday experience. Why do we feel the shame? Where is that coming from? Why do we feel that we're flawed? Why do we feel the big L on our forehead, that loser? Why is that? And my belief is that the reason we feel those ways is because of the meaning that we make out of that question. They ask us that question and we give it meaning. We give it the meaning of, oh, I should be in a relationship and I'm not. And so therefore there's something wrong with me. Therefore I should feel bad about myself. Therefore, or they're judging me as something's wrong with me. They're asking me this question and there's judgment on the other side of this question. And I want to challenge that as truth right now, because I don't think that is the truth. I don't think anyone who is listening to this, if you're single and it's the holiday season right now.
Or if you're a senior and you're single.
Or a senior who's single. Either way.
Either way.
There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing flawed with you. And so the way to change that experience is to change the meaning that we're giving it. If we change the frame, and we can actually associate. See, right now, what happens is that question gets asked so often, and in the past, we've associated such negative meaning to it that it instantly triggers that feeling of unworthiness, that feeling of loneliness. If we can associate it to something else, then we can actually transform our experience of that question. So, for example, most people ask that question, hey, so are you in a relationship? What's up with your love life? This and that. Most people ask that question not because they're trying to judge you if you're
totally
worthy or not. They're asking that question. Most people ask that question because they don't know what else to ask. They're just trying to connect. They're
right.
like, what can we talk about here? Oh, let's talk about love life. That's just an easy go-to question. What's going on with work? What's going on with your love life? It's like, those are the two questions that get asked more than anything else.
Totally. And by the way, I have a lot of my clients tell me that they're married friends. They're asking that question also. So when they make the meaning different and they actually have a conversation, a lot of married friends, especially, your women friends who are married, they kind of want to live vicariously through you. Right?
Oh,
They're like,
totally,
right? They're
totally.
like, oh my God, like show me the pictures of the guys on like, on Bumble. Oh, he's so cute. Like they kind of want to just like connect and they want to be part of the experience and it's fun. And so there's a million meanings. And so that could be one, like, oh, this is fun. Like show me your guys. I want to go man shopping with you.
Yes. Yeah. So what meaning could we give that question? What meaning could we give that experience so that it actually created a feeling of worthiness versus a feeling of flawed or a feeling of loser? And so for each person listening, here's how you do that. You come up with meanings that you say, yeah, this could be a meaning I can grab onto. And then you notice, how do I feel? How do I feel in this moment? Do I feel more worthy? Do I feel more confident? Do I feel better? versus do I feel worse? And so that's the litmus test, right? So here's a couple examples of meanings. And then Marni, I'd love to hear, any perspective from you of what meaning could you give it. One meaning is, oh, this person's asking this question because they're trying to connect with me. And this is actually a form of love.
Totally.
Anytime someone connects to you, it's a way of giving love to someone else. Oh, this person's trying to love me right now. This person's trying to love me because they care. And so, if that feeling was, and so if you like that, if you feel empowered by thinking that right now, which I hope you do, because in my opinion, it's the truth. They're trying to connect with you because they love you, even if it's from a place of negativity. We all have the relative who
I was just going to say, like, what if
cynical.
What if it's a salty sauce, like your aunt or your sister or something like that?
So here's the deal. Any salty sauce, anybody who's acting out with sarcasm, with negativity, any action is a call for love, no matter how unskilled.
Brilliant.
So they're either loving you or they're asking to be loved. It's one or the other, And so if you can really come from that frame, come from that perspective and give it that meaning, it can completely change your experience of that question and that experience during the holidays. So Marni, what other meaning could they give it that might empower them?
Well, I think the other thing is that it's an opportunity to actually create a deeper connection with that person. So the other meaning is this person is coming and asking me this question. This is an opportunity for me to actually be real, right? Like it's a meaningful opportunity to connect more with that relative, to put down the guard, to be more vulnerable, to tell them that I'm actually looking and maybe they could fix me up with somebody. Or what do you think about this? Or how did you meet your husband? Or it's like it can be an opportunity to connect more deeply with people.
Yes, I love that. And I love what you said around, being real. And we all know that the first and most important love relationship any of us ever endeavors upon is the relationship with ourself. So when someone says, how's your love life? You can say, you know what? It is amazing. I have been on a journey of self-love deeper than I've ever been before. And I'm happier and more in love with myself than I've been in a long time. And I'm in a place where I'm open to meet someone incredible. So Grandma, if you meet any hot men at your single center, you know who to hook a girl up with.
Totally. Right. If you see any guys visiting their dads, that don't have the ring, Grandma, do the ring check for me, Grandma. So here's a question that I have for you. And you're just so good at this because you were a science teacher. So I love asking you biology questions. Because I have a lot of clients that struggle, like they'll listen to this podcast and they'll have the intention to go to Thanksgiving dinner or they'll go to the holiday party and they'll be like, yeah, I'm totally going to make different meaning. That's what Matt and Marni told me to do. Mm-hmm. And then they get in the moment and they they freeze. They're not even aware that they're reacting. They're not able to make that other interpretation because they physically have a reaction that puts them in their pattern. Do you have any tips or strategies so they can be mindful in the moment?
Yes. Well, so the first tip and strategy is always, my mom's in personal development and an author and a speaker. And she taught us growing up that the number one personal development tool that any of us can use is to notice what you're noticing. So in other words, become aware of your thoughts as you're thinking them, become aware of how you're feeling as you're having the experience. Because if you're aware of it, then that puts you at a choice point where you can make a decision. You can say, okay, I am going to choose a different thought. So then two other tools that we can use. One is just because a thought comes into our mind doesn't mean we have to get on the train and ride it to Horribleville, right? We don't have to Painville. We don't have to get on that train and ride it all the way. A thought comes in your mind like a relative shows up at dinner and they've met the love of their life and they're the ones who you were for sure you and this person were always single together. Now they've met the person. Now you're the only one who's single. And there's that thought like, oh my God, they met the one, like I'm so far behind.
Right.
Pace.
Yep.
Or there's one less great guy that I could have met. So that thought comes in your mind. What you want to do is you want to just notice it, say, no, thank you, let it float by, and then choose the empowering thought for you. You say, no, I'm at the right and perfect place for me, and I am attracting the amazing relationship that I want. And here's the thing, it only takes one, and what if it's easy?
I love that. Like,
it only
what
takes,
if it's easy?
Well, it only takes one, and what if it's easy? This is the right and perfect place for me at this moment. So that's really the first thing, is to notice what you're noticing. If a thought comes down the tracks, you do not have to board that train. You just let it go by and choose the train thought that you want, or the thought train that you want, rather, right? What's going to empower you? And the other thing is practicing. We call this advanced decision making, really, where you're practicing the state that you're creating for yourself in the given situation. So, and you can do this with body position. One of the most powerful ways to create state is through your body, rather than just being in your head.
Absolutely.
So there's all this scientific research that shows when you smile, you have no choice. Your body releases feel-good chemicals when you smile. Like it's patterned into you. Babies aren't trained to smile. And yet when they're happy, they smile. When they cry, their face goes down into a little sad face, And so this is just how we're wired up. So causing yourself to shift your body position to generate a new state is one of the most powerful things that you can do. So let's say you want to generate a new state when you're in the holidays. Here's a great one that you can use, and you can do it now. You can practice it now so that it anchors a really positive state in you that then you can just recall when you're at the holidays. So this is what I mean. In your home, every morning, practice putting yourself into, what image could you think that when you bring that image to mind, you feel worthy, you feel powerful, and you feel grateful? What images come to mind? You want to bring those images to mind. Stretch your arms out to the side with your palms up, shoulders back, throw your head back to the sky or to the ceiling, and smile real big and feel these feelings. When I say feel these feelings, generate the images that then cause the feelings.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're training your body to be able to generate state on command. So then you go to the holiday dinner, and when you feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling like all those old patterns start to come up. Go into the bathroom, stretch your arms out wide, palms up, head back, smile, and say your affirmation to you. Bring these same images to mind and allow that feeling of happiness and worthy and peace and gratitude to flow forth from you, and it's going to change your state. But it all starts with noticing what you're noticing, so that you can make the choice to then generate that state.
I love these tips. And Matt and I are very similar in that many of our strategies can be implemented in a bathroom. Literally, I'm telling women, I'm like, you're on a date. Just excuse yourself. Go into the bathroom.
Yeah.
But it's really, really empowering. I have a little add-on to that.
Okay.
So if you cannot escape to the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
you can create a somatic connection to self-compassion, which takes you out of that negative thought by either holding your own hand and stroking your thumb on your palm, right? Like self-love, like I've got this, it's self-care. You can put your hand on your cheek. You can even it looks like you're crossing your arms, but you can just put your arms in a cross your arms position and kind of give yourself a little squeeze, like a little hug, right? So if you can do that until you can make your escape, because so many women, we get into that moment. What happens is then we're like, shit, I'm not doing the thing that Matt and Marni told me to do. God, I suck. I can't even do that, right? We go into the thing. So it's cool. You know what? You are sad. You are disappointed. It's you wish it were you. I got it, right? But it's okay. Give yourself a little self-love and then go shift the vibration. Go to I love this exercise of practicing being in would you call that gratitude, joyful, receiving? What would you do you have a name for that? So someone can be like, I got to use the blank tool.
No, I don't have a name for it, but we could invent a name.
Let's do it. What is it?
I mean, the clearest thing, it's always clarity over cleverness as far as helping it be practical for us.
Right. Okay.
So it's just, I want to generate state, right? This is let's generate state activity. So
I love it. Generate state.
Yeah, yeah. And what you just said, the stroking your palm, putting your hands together and stroking your thumb in your palm as a way to create that state. And it's important that people also know that when you said a somatic connection, when we condition ourselves to feel a certain way while a body position or body behavior is happening, then it can bring us back to that feeling so fast. But we have to do it in advance. So my encouragement is for you to come up with something. I love the thumb in your palm because you can do it anywhere, right?
Yep.
But practice that in the mornings, every morning, every evening, generating a state of self-compassion and love and gratitude. So then all you have to do is start doing that, and your body, your subconscious mind will go to work and generate a state of gratitude, calm, love, compassion, right?
It's so cool. And I actually had a client the other day. It's who used this. She's got like a brother who is negative Ned. His name's not Ned, but she's like, my brother. Like she says it like that. And so she's been going to a lot of these family events, and he's like negative, and so she was like, I am at the cause of what happens here. And so she decided to be joy when she went into the family gathering. And she sort of set a loving boundary with a smile on her face. And for the first time, and he's 60 and she's probably 50. Okay. So this is like an old pattern. He smiled back at her and he said, good point. And she was like, oh my God, I created a different result. And it's literally like that simple, because she was like, this time I'm going to be the cause of positivity and joy with my brother at this family gathering. And I can do that. I cannot react. I cannot be triggered. So,
ooh, I love that. It reminds me of Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, all of the water in the world cannot drown you if it doesn't get in you.
Damn, that's deep. No pun intended.
You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
I love that. It's like water off a duck's back. So you can create that vision for yourself as we go into these holidays saying, hey, I'm going to be impervious to other people's negativity. It's just going to be water off a duck's back.
Awesome. Okay. So this is that was a segue, but I think this is part of this 10 minute. There's 7 tools for the 10 minutes in the sweaty conversation formula. And so in theory, if someone asks you, why are you still single? Can you apply the tools for that kind of a question? Or is it just really with like men?
I'm not so sure that applies to that question.
Okay.
But it's a perfect question of when do we use the sweaty 10-minute conversation? So in any relationship, there are going to be agreements that are broken and needs that don't get met. It might be, there are agreements that are spoken that get broken. Then there are agreements that are unspoken, that are expectations that we all have that then either get met or don't met. We're either meeting these expectations or we're not meeting them. And it's amazing when we're in relationships how many unspoken expectations we all have for how often we're going to talk, what format we're going to connect. Are we going to text? Are we going to talk on the phone? Or are we going to like Skype? Or, for long distance relationships, how often we're going to see each other, how often we're going to have sex, what it's going to be like when we're hanging out. I mean, just all of these expectations, right?
It's like you need a rule book. Like, but if you literally like all those things that you just thought of, and you've how long have you been married now?
5 years. Just celebrated 5 years.
Okay, 5 years. So I know I've been married 2 years, but I've been with Jeremy for like almost 8. Almost like every week you could add, oh God, I didn't know I had that expectation. And it starts the minute you interact with someone for the first time. Like we have these made up rules of like how it's supposed to be and what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, we have a water jug. I'll just give you one that happened last night.
Yep.
We have a water jug because we're in California, so we don't drink the tap water here, right? So we have a big water jug that sits on the kitchen counter, goes into the kitchen sink, and with a little lever that you pull up, it's one of those big 5-gallon plastic water jugs. And so the little nozzle got loose. And so I took the water jug off without spilling any. And so most of it's there. But in the carafe, in the porcelain bottom, there's still water in there. And so I took a wrench and
Matt, I'm impressed.
I washed the wrench off. I washed it really, really good with soap. So it was super clean because there's a bunch of water in the carafe and I didn't want to pour all that water out and waste it. And I put the wrench in there and I just tightened the little nozzle down. That's all it took. And giving you a little background, I'm not a handyman. In fact, my wife's dad is a handyman. And so if I have a little sore spot, it's the fact that I feel like I should be the one to fix the toilet, but she'll call him and he'll come over and fix the toilet. And I'm okay with that because I know that he gets a lot of pleasure out of it and he feels really manly about it. And so, but, there's also this part of me that's like, dang, I wish I knew how to fix stuff the way he does.
Right.
So here I did. I fixed the water thing. And I pull it out. My wife wasn't around. I came down and so I was like, so funny. My wife comes in the kitchen. I'm like, babe, look at the nozzle. It wasn't leaking anymore. I was like, I fixed that. And it's a running joke. And it's funny because I don't fix stuff around the house. So I totally fixed this thing. And she was like, how did you fix that? Like, what did you use to fix it? I said, I used a wrench, but I washed it off, really. And she was like, babe, there's oil, there's grease in the wrench. That's what allows it to like get bigger and smaller, and washing it off is not going to get the grease out of that wrench. And just promise me next time that you'll just pour the water out and fix it that way. And so that's an example of an unknown expectation. She had an expectation that I would dump the water out versus washing it and putting it back, And so we have tons of these unknown expectations. So I said, you know what? She's pregnant right now and any little thing makes her nauseous.
Right.
So I'm saying, you know what? Cool. You got it. But she did a great move as a woman and she came over and she hugged me and she says, but you fixed this and you are my hero. Thank you so much, and gave me a big kiss and was like, I love it. Good job. And so that really made up for, the fact that I didn't do it perfectly. But whenever we have an expectation that's not met, whenever we have a need that's not being met, oftentimes it can be nerve-wracking to bring it up.
Right. Because
we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. We don't want to send the relationship into a tailspin. Where if things are going great, then you kind of bring this up and then you don't feel like you can recover from it.
Totally.
Or you're going to chase a lot of times we feel like the other person's going to run off. This client I was talking to yesterday was like, I don't feel secure in being able to talk about my wants because the last 3 times I did that, the guy ran off. Like I bailed, he pulled away and didn't come back. And so there's a couple things. One is having the confidence to know, and we're going to give you this formula, but the first thing is the mindset to know that if you're in a relationship where if you bring up something that is what we call a sweaty 10-minute conversation, you bring up something you're unhappy with, you bring up something where your wants or needs aren't being met, you bring that up, that you want to ground yourself in the belief that if this relationship is meant to be, then this man will have the maturity and the staying power to talk to you about it.
Totally.
Or this woman, whoever it is,
yeah,
right? Will
totally.
There will be the staying power. And if they don't,
they're out.
Then that is the universe removing something from your life to make room for something amazing for your life. And the faster that happens, the you're okay with that. That happens fast, great, because you want something amazing in your life now. And so when we're dating, it's about we're discovering who this person is. And the only time we really reveal ourselves is when we're either in super intimate, and I'm talking about like emotionally intimate,
right.
Or when we're under stress. Wayne Dyer used to say, hey, you take an orange and you squeeze it. What comes out? Orange juice, of course. Why? Because that was what was in it the whole time.
That's so good.
You take a human being, you squeeze them. What's going to come out of them? whatever comes out is what was there the whole time. So in these sweaty conversations or in these difficult conversations, that's when we get squeezed as people. So however we respond, that's what was in us the whole time. And so you can have confidence that the man who you want in your life long term is going to respond with compassion, with openness, with caring.
Totally. I read this quote and I can't remember who it was from. Damn. But it was, my silence will not be your comfort.
I love it.
Right. And I think as women, we do that. I mean, I did that for years and years and years. And it is really, if you think about it, it's like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, because if you're uncomfortable, you're going to leave. And if you leave, then I'll be alone.
Right.
And here's what's really amazing for so many women who are listening. We're like loving, caring, like we really care about these guys, especially if they had a bad day at work. They're going through something with their family. They got enough quote unquote stress already, right? And we can rationalize like, oh, I don't want him to be uncomfortable. He's got so much stuff going on. My needs aren't as important. So we can kind of bullshit ourselves. And I think what you said, which is so important, is freaking squeeze the orange, because you want to know that now. It's because you know what? And you've been married for 5 years, so you can test to this. It's never like there's always shit going on, always. It's not like you like hit some like pinnacle and you're like, and now everything is perfect. Like, nobody dies, work is perfect, the economy is awesome. No one ever gets sick. So you want to squeeze the orange early and often.
No sexual connotations,
Oh, yeah.
Well, you want to squeeze that orange early and often, and yeah, your man wants you to squeeze that orange too, early and often.
Oh my God! See, there it goes, back to that. So they're gonna remember squeeze the orange early and often more than get the state or restate the state. Anyway, go ahead.
That reminds me of a joke where a husband and wife, they've been married a long time. They wake up early in the morning, and the husband leans over to the wife and says, "Hey, honey, how about a quickie?" And she turns back to him and says, as opposed to, like, you have another option? Like what?
That's funny. And that's when you have, how old is Isabella? Like 3?
She's 2.
She's 2. So yeah, you're going to have another baby soon. That's a good thing for when you have small children, as opposed to what?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be awake this time. No. Okay, so let's talk about the tools. The tools. Okay. It's all about the tools for the sweaty conversation. So you are not going to be silent for someone else's comfort. You are going to squeeze the orange, and you're going to follow this formula. And what is it?
Yes. So credit where credit's due. This comes from my mentor, Gay Hendricks, who is a PhD with counseling psychology out of Stanford. He's written over 40 books in his lifetime, many of them multiple bestsellers, been on Oprah like 18 times.
He's amazing.
Yeah, the guy's amazing. So he taught this to me, so want to make sure that I give him credit, and it's very powerful, and it has helped tremendous. And so what I've done is I've taken the teacher in me, he's taken sort of his concept and then broken it down into these steps. And the first step is to teach this system to your partner when things are good.
Awesome. That is very smart, right?
Yeah, you don't want to try to whip this one out when it's bad. It's actually much more effective when things are good, to say, hey, I learned this great new tool for how to communicate so that, and then you want to position it in a way that men are open and receptive to. So we don't like fights. We don't like our woman being unhappy. We don't like woman, and especially when she's unhappy, and giving us the silent treatment, right? So say, hey,
I've never done that.
This is a special tool. Here's a communication strategy. Men love strategies. Here's a communication strategy that we can use to help us get through arguments much faster and with less pain. Are you up for learning it?
Oh my God. If I said that to Jeremy, he'd be like, is it efficient? Can we do a spreadsheet? Is there an app? Okay. Okay, great. I love this. So this is what you're going to say. This is the podcast, by the way, that you download and you like listen and rewind and write this down. Okay, so.
Yeah. You want to write this. So that's step number 1.
Yep.
Step number 2 is then, so you've both learned this strategy. Then when there is a sweaty 5-minute conversation that needs to happen, you give the shot across the bow, which sets your man up for being able to hear you. So it's, hey, honey, I've got a sweaty 10-minute conversation I want to have with you. Is now a good time? It's
what
important.
if he says, like, actually, I did this, and I did it, and Jeremy said Tuesday. It was like Thursday. I was like, but I respected that.
Okay.
Right. Because he was in the middle of like a stressful, he's starting a new career. He's like got a lot of stuff going on. So I just want you to know that I have done that. And so then I had to be okay with Tuesday. But it was awesome because we were able to like go back to our regular stuff. And then Tuesday we had the conversation. So you might not get like now as an answer or 10 minutes. It might be next Tuesday.
Well, and what you said, I want to mark this down. Later is an unacceptable answer. It must be a by when. Okay. So if he says, no, now's not a good time, which the reason you're asking this is because you want him to be the most open and receptive as possible, right? So when he agrees, either yes, now is a good time, or he says no later, what you want to do is you want to say, okay, but by when? When would be a good time for you? And he'll say Tuesday, or he'll say tonight at 7. There's a psychological trigger, ladies and gentlemen, that happens when you do this. And it's well documented in these social science studies. And what it's called is consistency or congruency. In other words, when he says, yes, now is a good time, he opens himself a little bit. His subconscious mind says, I'm agreeing to this conversation with her. Yep. Versus you just launching in. Most people just launch in. Hey, I want to talk to you about something. Last night, when you came home at 7, you were supposed to be home at 5, and you didn't even call me and blah, 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 blah. Like, he's not even open. He's not even a partner with you in this conversation yet. Right. So when he says, yes, now is a good time, or he does agree to a time, that's a partnership move, right? So it's it's important. You don't want to skip that step. So then he says, let's just say, for sake of this, he says, yeah, now's a good time. What's up? Then give him, and this is, I believe, is step number 3.
It's 3. I'm keeping track.
Okay, good.
My masculine self is keeping track.
We'll make sure I give these into you 7. This might be lumped into 2. I forget how I break it down, but it's important. And that is that you give him the intention.
Okay. What does that mean to someone who's not spiritual and woo-woo?
Yeah.
They don't know what an intention is.
That means you give him the outcome you want for the conversation.
Well, Matt, like if you're a woman, it's my way.
That's fine.
Okay.
But here's the outcome you want. Here's the outcome. Here's this actually, my wife does this, and so we added this to the sweaty 10-minute conversation.
I love Irene. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So she says, hey, I want to talk to you about this because I love you and I want to create a deeper connection with you. And so I'm asking that you stay open and receptive to what I'm about to say.
Cool. I love that.
Now, you might skip that. If it's something small that you just want to talk about, you might skip it. But if it's something bigger, then you want, because most human beings' natural response when they're being told they're not doing a good job, anytime, ladies, you want to change something about the relationship, as men, we hear it as we're not providing what you want and we are failing as a partner. So if we believe that's true and we're failing as a partner, then most men, their defensiveness kicks in because we want to prove that, no, we are doing a good job. Because if we're not doing a good job, then you might leave us. But if we can prove to you that we are doing a good job, then you're not going to leave us, that you're going to stay. Like subconsciously, this is why people get defensive. It's because they're fighting for the relationship, when in actuality, defensiveness pushes the other person away, right?
Totally. And I think this is a good point to highlight because I think women forget that men are human.
Yes. And so.
Right. So like he's got his own fears and he's got his own stuff. And he, there's a guy who had the wrench conversation who could, really take that personally. And
no, I did. There was a part of me that felt like, I failed at doing this little task. But then she was able to say no and good job and thank you. And that helped me feel a whole lot better.
Right. Okay. Men are human. So you're
so tell
setting
them
it
the
up.
outcome.
Tell them the outcome.
I love you. And the intention for this conversation is for us to actually be closer. So I just ask that you stay open and receptive to what I'm about to say.
Love that.
So then he puts his shield down and his sword down. And he goes, okay, I'll be open and receptive. And then step number 4, 5, and 6 is, here's what I see, state the facts. Here's how I feel, state how you feel. And then here's what I want. Okay?
I love that.
I see. See, feel, want. Now, goes like this. Let's just take the example of coming home late, and I'll give you a real example.
I was gonna say I have a real example. I handled it totally wrong.
Okay, let's hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so and it reminds me of the late thing. So my husband Jeremy is usually really good about like being on time and picking up the kids and like really being a great partner that way. So I was teaching a class and he was supposed to pick my daughter up from school, and it was not happening. And so I literally and I was teaching a class on the phone.
Because he forgot, or
he was in a podiatry appointment, and to make it, I'm just painting the picture because I feel like, when you're getting triggered, you're really getting triggered. So I'm sitting here boiling, like, where is he? And he freaking sent me a Snapchat of himself with the podiatry cast that was supposed to be funny. And I'm looking at the Snapchat and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? This is so not funny. Clearly, you don't even remember you have to do this. So we had to have a revisit conversation.
And it was agreed upon.
Totally agreed upon that
he was going to go pick up your daughter.
Totally. So I had to call
and he just blew it.
He just blew it. And so, yeah. So I had to call the audible, and I did it, and it ended up being fine and all that stuff. But I had to then revisit the conversation. And so I had to come to it. I didn't do so great because I was pretty pissed. I wish I would have done what we're talking about. So what could I have said in 4, 5, and 6? Or 5, 6, and 7.
4, 5, and 6. And this is where, again, the reason that we're doing this, the reason that you're going through this is to get a new result.
Right.
And if you want your man to acknowledge how you feel, this is the most effective way.
Yep.
And there are a lot of ineffective strategies that women will use to get a man to acknowledge how they feel, like bringing up the past or exaggerating by using the words always and never.
Yep.
Anytime there's something I want you to do, you always forget. You're always putting yourself, your other things in front of what we're doing. You're never remembering the things that I tell you to do. You're selfish. You're this and that. And so they'll start name calling or labeling or you remember last year? Yeah, last year right. When we were doing this, you did the same thing to my other daughter. She was stranded at school for 4 hours and I had to send my uncle to go get her or whatever it was, right? So there's no bringing up the past,
okay,
no exaggerating,
yep.
And no using the words always and never, because the man will get defensive.
Totally.
So here's what I see is state the facts.
Yeah.
Jeremy, we had an agreement that we both agreed upon last week that you would pick up our daughter from school on this particular day. She is at school and you are at your podiatry appointment and you missed picking her up. That's the facts.
Totally. Those are the facts. He cannot.
He can't argue with that.
No, he cannot.
And that's why it's important to state the facts. We had an agreement that you would be home at 5 o'clock. It's now 7 and you're home. And we also had an agreement that if you're going to be late, that you were going to text me or call me, and you did not.
Totally. Now, here's the thing. This is a really good nuance. So I'm representing here my women. That is an unstated expectation for most situations, that if you can't make it, you were text or call. However, I think if I was going to redo this, when we made the agreement, I would have said, and of course, if something comes up at your doctor appointment, text or call.
There you go. So
right?
that's you taking responsibility for, okay, that piece wasn't communicated. Although in your mind, you're thinking, well,
exactly.
Of course, we would all, but we can't take those things for granted.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
And so, here's a really hardcore truth, which is the result is the meaning of our communication. In other words, this is Marshall Thurber says that the meaning of our communication is the result we're getting. So if you don't like the result, take responsibility for communicating differently, more clearly, with more agreements, right? So okay. So you get him to agree that, is this what happened? From your perspective, is this the result that happened?
Yep.
And he'll say yes. And you say, totally. When that happened, I felt, and then name feelings.
Right. So I felt unimportant.
I felt unimportant. Right? I felt frustrated.
Yeah, I felt unsupported.
I felt angry.
Yeah.
I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling unsupported. I'm feeling unsupported and unimportant.
Unimportant was really, so just because I think that this is a big piece for women, is because I obviously thought about it a lot. Unimportant was big because of the Snapchat. Like, you're not even like, you're just in your own little world. And I know that I get triggered around unimportant. So I also realized that the reason why I got so like that is because I made meaning. I made meaning of him just at this. By the way, the doctor's appointment was now like the reason why he was late. It was now like a 3-hour thing, right? So
yeah, and let's just be clear: unimportant is not a feeling.
True.
Unimportant is so that is a label.
Yep, I made up the label.
That's meaning, and so he's gonna. That's an opportunity. See, we can't argue with feelings. We can't argue that you got angry, frustrated, sad. We can't argue that, but we can argue that you're not unimportant, babe. You're not unimportant. You're not. Blah 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 blah. So what you're doing is you're basically setting this up so that you can have your experience and that he'll acknowledge it and that you can move through this. So avoid labels like unimportant, although it does help paint a picture for us for, you can say, now I know this may not be true.
Right. The story I made up is that I was unimportant, and I'm angry.
Yeah, the story that I'm making up around this is I'm unimportant. That's a great phrase to say that. I love that, Marni. So here's what I see. Here's how I feel.
Yep.
And so what men want to do, we want to know, how can I make this better? So then you say, here's what I want. Okay. And you can say, and when you're thinking about how can we make this better, what I would love, here's what I want. I want that for you to do whatever it takes to make it right now. Go get her and bring her home. And the next time that this blah, 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 blah happens, call me, text me, put a reminder for yourself, like whatever it takes. But here's what I want is that you're going to actually do the things that you're agreeing to doing.
Totally.
What can we do to support you in that? And then the 7th step is seek common ground, which is saying, how do you feel about this? What's your side of this story? And then he'll say, well, I totally screwed up, man.
That's exactly what he said. I screwed up.
I blew it. And then say, how can we support you to help remember these things moving forward? What would really support you in remembering these things moving forward? Because at the end of the day, we're a team, right?
Yep.
Like, we're a team. We've got to work together to be able to do life in an amazing way together. And so that's what you're looking for, is moving forward. Because especially if the person is seeking to want to do better, that's what you're going to get around what's your side of this? You're going to find out how he really feels and what his experience was. And that's also an opportunity for us to remember that we don't always know the whole story.
Totally. And by the way, like, the other thing is, for me to do basically what Irene did in your situation, which was, I was like, I know you feel bad. I love you. I let him off the hook. And then in the, what do you need? So it was like, let's communicate better around blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and you need to kiss my ass tonight. And he was like, done. He's like, what do you want? I'm like, do the dishes, rub my feet. And he was like, I'm on it. But literally, like, it did make me feel better. It was like, you know what? Let me just give you some extra love. And that's like, I love this question of what I need. And it can be like, you know what? I want some extra TLC.
Yeah, and we want to know that.
Yep.
We want to know as men, how can I make this better?
Yep.
Is there anything I can do to make this better? And so you can offer that. You say, and what would make me feel really loved and cared about is if XYZ happened. And you will be surprised and shocked. Your man will spring into action. The worst is when a woman says, you screwed up and there's nothing you can do to fix it.
Yeah.
We're stuck.
That's like basically F you. And that's not... That's you basically putting us in forever debt.
Yeah. Now we're forever indebted and there's no way of getting out. A lot of women do that because it's a power play, but that's not a partnership play. And what you want to do is how do we create partnership? Because your man wants you to be happy, wants to take care of you and be the man you want him to be. So give him the path to success for that.
I love it. We have covered, this is so much great information. Okay, we have to go soon, but I do want to circle back to, what do my listeners say when grandma says, why are you still single? Because I want to give them a good answer to that so that they don't sweat in their holiday clothes.
That's a great, it's funny. I just put a YouTube video out about this. And then I asked women around the world to post why they were like, what are their answers?
Yeah.
for why they were still single. So I'll give you a couple of I'll give you my answer, and then there's some other brilliant answers that came in that I thought were really good. So here's the longer version. If you want to do a little bit of a longer version versus a shorter version. So the longer version that you can say is coming from the space. It's all about beingness first, right?
Yeah.
So the beingness is that you're single by choice, even though you may be looking for somebody, you may want to attract somebody in your life, but at the end of the day, we are right where we're supposed to be. And so you are coming from this place of, I'm enjoying this amazing moment of adventure and discovery being single right now. Right. And so to say, oh, why are you still single? You can say, actually, I'm loving my time right now, Grandma. I'm having an adventure and I'm loving my life. And you know what? I think I'm ready to finally meet somebody who would be a great life partner. So it's like, acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with you being single, that you're loving your life, you're loving this adventure that you're on, and that you're also open and ready to meet someone single. So that's more of the longer version, right? So you say, oh, so why are you still single? You say, actually, I'm having a great time, Grandma. This has been an awesome adventure. And, I think now I'm ready to meet someone amazing. Or you can say, I'm actually loving my time being single. This is exactly what I want. Because some of you listening right now, you're right where you want to be. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all good. Like, love being single. Then the other answer that comes up is saying, I just haven't met the right guy yet, but I'm open.
That's the buffet answer, right? You're standing next to like Uncle Ted and you're just like, it's like a quick answer. And then the other one is if like you're sitting next to Uncle Ted. Right. I have time to make a conversation.
Yeah.
I love it. We got to let Grandma off the hook. And now we're moving on to Ted.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think? What do you think, Marni? What's a good way to respond to that?
Well, I have an answer that a lot of really successful women are like, Ted, Uncle Ted. For a long time, I was really super focused on my career, and I'm so proud of myself, and I just love what I've created. And now I am ready to bring love into my life, and that's what I'm like excited about now. And so, who do you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that. What
was like the most the answer you got from your crew on YouTube that was like, wow, I never thought of that one before? Was there one that was just like, whoa, that's a good one?
Let's go there right now and find out. Here's a funny one. Overqualified for the job. Overqualified. Why are you still single? I'm overqualified. Overqualified for the job. I thought that was funny. Or we've just never met before. Like, or I haven't met him yet. I'm single by choice and I'm not willing to settle.
I love that one. Yeah.
Single by choice, not willing to settle. And then this other woman, I'm going to read this one. I haven't fully read it, so it could be bombshell. Who knows? To say, I can't help but turn the question back on him. Why is it that there's something wrong with women if they're not married at such a young age? Why do guys think they're privileged to take their time and find someone, but there's something wrong with women if they're not married at 27? So she flips it on that.
I think actually I could see how that could work. Like, Ted, like, I'm just curious, what's behind the question? Actually, that could be a really cool question, because maybe Ted, when he was growing up, people were married and having kids by the time they're 27, and now they're not. So, hey, Uncle Ted, things are different now. Like, millennials do different stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
I like that.
I love that. I love that you put it out to the crew. So, the most important thing is, and this circles back to the beginning, which is a great way to begin to wrap up, is making meaning of the question in a way that is really from a place of, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I am not flawed, and I'm listening to the Dating Den podcast, so clearly I'm working on it, and I cannot wait to have my first sweaty conversation. It's happening soon.
There you go. I love it.
I love it. Matt, you are amazing. I'm so glad you called me out on my shit in 2008, probably. I will always be proud to be one of your success stories. And you have, helped me. You've helped so many of my clients. You help women all over the world. And You are brilliant. So
here's an idea I've never thought of before. I just want to send a wave of gratitude to that guy that you were on a date with.
Rockstar.
That caused you to be at that seminar because, Marni, you and I have such a great friendship, and I love and respect the work that you're doing in the world. You've made such a huge difference. I mean, really impacting millions of people around the globe. And that moment that brought us together, let me send a wave of gratitude to Rockstar right now. Because if he wasn't there, we would have never met.
Totally. Oh, and by the way, for anyone who likes to close the loops, so I used a Matt Boggs technique. He disappeared, right? And I used the thing where you send a message like, hey, I'm going out with my girlfriends, and you mentioned this restaurant in Hollywood. Like, do you remember the name of it? And he was like, yeah, well, could I meet, like, maybe I'll meet you. Totally exactly what you predicted happened. So we reconnected. He got off the hook for being invisible. We had a great conversation. And you know what? I did the sweaty conversation, like a 1.0 Marni at the time version. He pulled away because he knew that he wanted to have biological kids, and he knew that I didn't. And he was really falling for me, and he just couldn't. He was trying to wrap his head around that possibility, and he couldn't. And so we ended up parting ways, and actually we're still We're still in connection. We're still friends. And he actually is a photographer and takes a lot of online dating photos for some of my clients. So there you go.
That's a great wrap up.
So there you go. All right, Matt, a big love to you. Thank you for being here. And ladies, have an awesome holiday. And don't let Grandma, Ted, anybody take you out of that place of being grateful for the breath that you wake with every morning and for the opportunity you have to love yourself and find love. All right. Love you all. Bye.